Thanks everybody for joining us. We are here for a virtual construction information meeting about the Mast Rd Bridge Rehabilitation project that we have planned this spring. My name is Emily Kaiser and I am the communications manager here at the Road Commission. I'll be the meeting host. And then if you want to go to the next slide, Nate, we'll talk about what the plan is for this morning. So I'm going to go over just a few housekeeping slides, and then I will turn it over to Nate and to Aaron to talk more about the project itself. And then we will open it up to a Q&A period at the end. Go to the next slide, Nate. So we have two of our engineers with us today to talk about the project. We have Nate Murphy, who is the project manager for this project. You can find Nate's contact information here. You don't have to furiously write it down. We'll have it in a couple places, and I'll also show you later in the presentation how you can find it on our website. You can go to the next one. And then we also have Aaron Burkholtz, who is our senior project manager. And so Aaron's contact information is here, and we'll hear from both Nate and Burke today about this project. You can go to the next one, Nate. So just a couple housekeeping items. So the meeting audio and video is being recorded, and it will be posted to wcroads.org and to the Road Commission's YouTube channel in the next day or two. I'll try to do it by the end of the day today if I can. We will open it up to Q&A period at the end of our presentation. And at that time, we will ask you to either virtually raise your hand to ask your question verbally, or you can ask your question in chat, because we do have chat enabled on this meeting. And so if you want to ask your question in chat, I'll read those off to Nate and to Aaron as we get to the Q&A period. So again, either chat, or we'll ask you, and I'll provide instructions as to how to do it. We'll ask you to verbally ask your question during the Q&A period. And with that, I will turn it over to Nate to get us started on the project information.
Thank you, Emily. This project is for the Mast Rd Bridge. We're embarking on a preventative maintenance project at the bridge here over Huron River Drive, over the Huron River. It's adjacent to Huron River Drive right here. You can see my cursor there. This is Huron River Drive, and this is Central Street coming down over the river. We're going to be doing a preventative maintenance project for the bridge. That means that we will be doing maintenance for it that will help the longevity of the structure as a whole. So here's a plan sheet of the work that we have planned. The existing bridge, you might notice as you drive over it, it looks like the deck is peeling. There's an existing epoxy coating that is coming off. And what we're going to be doing is taking that off and replacing it with a better product. And as well as you know, included with that, it seals up the deck. It keeps the water from penetrating down through the deck. So that's the main purpose of the project, is to get this deck sealed up. While we're out there, we'll be doing other you know, repairs that will be needed, you know, just to keep a good concrete, you know, the concrete in good condition. So the proposed work is going to include concrete repairs on the substructure. That'd be down below the bridge. That's the piers and the abutments down below, and as well as the deck and the railing. So what that means is we go out and we sound the concrete and find places where it's delaminated. We chip it off, re-pour it, and these kind of fixes help the lifespan of the bridge. We'll also be doing expansion joint replacement at each end. And then we're going to be doing, as I mentioned, the epoxy overlay. Guardrail, we're going to be upgrading. There's some guardrail issues that we're correcting. And then we'll be resurfacing the bridge approaches. So on either end of the bridge, we have about 20 feet of the, it's not very far, it's just enough to get it transitioned onto the bridge. It's about 20 feet on each side that we will remove the HMA, the asphalt pavement, down a certain depth, and then we will repave that. As I mentioned, here is the picture of the deck. You can see in areas here that the existing epoxy overlay that was put down previously is starting to come up. And when we go in and we'll take all of that off, and we'll apply an epoxy coating over the deck. And as I mentioned, it will seal it up from, you know, the salts, the chlorides that would go down in and cause deterioration to the reinforcement and the concrete and, you know, below. So this is this is the main purpose of the project. You can see here the existing bridge. There's just places that need repair. We'll be chipping this out, repouring it, and then it'll be much more clean. It'll last much longer. Also on the barriers here, the railings, we'll be finding any places that have delamination. We'll fix those up as well. And down below, this is a picture of the pier. Down below the concrete there, we have already identified locations where we need to make repairs, but we will be getting down there with the platform either side of the pier and making repairs to the concrete there. So want to talk about timeline and detour. These are the main things that will affect the motoring public. We have our contractors, E.T. McKenzie out of Ann Arbor. We have done many projects with them and have a great relationship with them. So we're looking forward to working with them on this bridge. They have a tentative start of May 3rd. That's when we're expecting them to get out there. That means at that point they will be closing down portion of the road, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then it'll be done in 2 phases, one side at a time. And we expect it to be fully completed by the end of July. For the maintenance of traffic, we will be doing this in, as I mentioned, a 2-stage project. This will allow us to maintain traffic in and out of the city of Dexter during the duration of the project. We will not be we will never close it down. But we will be maintaining it in a 1-lane on one side of the bridge. So you can see here, the orange is where we will begin our work, and this will be protected by concrete barrier around it. Either end, we will have a temporary signal. So there's a temporary signal on the south side here, just before the bridge there, and then one on the other side. And due to the complication of this intersection, we are going to need to limit the left turn movements from Huron River Drive. So as you come up Huron River Drive, we will not be allowing a left turn to go over the bridge. It just wouldn't work out safety-wise having the signal here. And that also is the same as you come up from the south side. We will have the Huron Street here. We will have no left turns here as well. You can see I have the that limited there. So that will be for the duration of the project, both for stage 1 and stage 2. And then I also want to talk about back here at the railroad. We will, in order to increase safety, we have this railroad dynamic envelope. And really what this is a fancy name for putting additional striping on the pavement. And what that does is it alerts the motorists that if the queue from the stoplight here coming up to the bridge, if that queue gets long enough that you don't end up parked on the railroad itself. So it gives some additional guidance and alerts the public to, hey, don't pull up onto this dynamic envelope area because if it does get backed up due to this temporary signal, then it's just an additional safety feature. So that will be added. And then going into stage 2, we'll flop the work to the other side. We'll be working here on the east side. And the traffic will be maintained here on the west side, and similar limitations, no left turns on Huron River Drive or coming out of Huron Street. When we get to doing the final piece of the work, which would be putting the epoxy coating onto the full bridge deck, we will have these areas removed. The temporary concrete barriers, the yellow lines here, they will be removed, and we will have a flagger out there. That epoxy coating will go down likely in one day, and that way they can just flip-flop the traffic quickly. But as I mentioned, we will not shut it down. There might be a time where you have to wait for a truck to cross or whatever, minimal things, but we will not officially close down the bridge during the work on this bridge. Wanted to talk about bridge work zone safety. We do have a lot of pedestrians, a lot of bicyclists that come through this area. The sidewalk will be open on either stage as we go through. So I would advise that as much as possible that the pedestrians use that, the bicyclists, they can use the lane, but just be careful, pay attention. It's a tricky intersection, and the good thing is, as you know, complicated an intersection that it is, we don't have a lot of fatalities or accidents that happen here. Maybe because it is so odd of a intersection, people just take their time, and that's a good thing. Just want you to pay attention and be careful as you come through the work zone, both for your safety and for the safety of the workers there that will be on the bridge. Work underneath the bridge will not close Huron River water traffic. We will have, as we flip-flop the different stages, we'll be working on one pier and then the other, but we will not limit any of the water traffic on the river. If you need more information, my contact information is right there. You can give me a call if you have any questions or you need anything. I'll do my best to help you out. I'm available and look forward to getting this project completed and our bridge in better condition. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Nate. I'm going to show everybody, because we do have this project page that Nate has listed on the slide here on our website. I'll show you how to get to that. But before I do that, Aaron, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Sure. And I appreciate, Nate, your work in providing this presentation. Well done. I'll just give a little bit of history here. The Mast Rd Bridge was built in 1976, the current bridge. Prior to that, I was not in the Dexter area at the time, but I'm told that there was a truss bridge at this location. So I'm sure that was interesting. Again, Dexter was a far different community back then. A truss bridge probably served purposes of the traffic volumes on Mast Road. But again, the current modern bridge has been in place since 1976. So the bridge is 45 years old. It's about halfway through its life, because generally when we build a new bridge of this size, you're looking at a 80 to 100 year design life for that bridge. And I was fortunate that I was involved, as was Nate, 12 years ago, now 13 years ago, working on the Dexter Main Street Bridge over Mill Creek at the other end of the city of Dexter. At the time, it was the village of Dexter, and that bridge was in very poor condition. And one of the reasons that bridge was in such poor condition and we had to completely replace it 13 years ago was because there had never really been any preventative maintenance performed on that bridge. At that time, not just here in Washtenaw County, but generally statewide at the local road level, the county road level, there was not funding availed for preventative maintenance work such as this, what Nate's been talking about today. Really the thought at that time at the local road level was, well, we'll just wait for the bridge to deteriorate, and when it reaches a really poor condition, we'll replace it. Well, that doesn't work out. And really, you have to maintain bridges because they're such a large investment of resources and of money. You have to maintain them. And this what we're going to do this summer is really part of that forward thinking. Now, MDOT working with the state, they do avail state funding for use for bridge preventative maintenance, not just for replacement. I did work on a similar project back in 2011. We actually did some preventative maintenance at that time. It was on the Mast Rd Bridge. And what that means is I'm getting old. And we accomplished that work at the time. Again, it increased the longevity of the bridge, and that's what this investment this summer is about, is making that investment and continuing to push out the longevity of this bridge, taking care of this infrastructure resource so that it serves the community. Again, looking back 11 years ago, the job went well. And we did have some traffic backups, but we were very mindful of that, as we will be this time. And we'll try to adjust the signals in as much as we can. But ultimately, this is a busy bridge. And I'll say that it's probably even busier now than it was back in 2011 when I worked on it previously. So we'll try to adjust the signals as much as we can. But I also want to point out, and Nate mentioned it, there's a lot of bicyclists through here, and we really need those bicyclists to be aware of this now during this work being a single lane controlled by temporary signals, and bicyclists complying with those because it's going to be narrowed up because we need that room to perform the work that we need to accomplish. So just a few additional thoughts. I appreciate everybody bearing with me as I gave a little bit of history here on the bridge and on the projects that we've done.
Thanks, Aaron. All right, so I'm going to take over screen sharing here for just a second so I can show you how to find the project information that we're talking about on the website. So hopefully you guys can see that. Nate, Aaron, can you guys see my screen now? Okay, great. So as I mentioned, we've got a project page on the Road Commission's website. And so our website is wcroads.org. And if you can see the screen, you can travel here. Shameless plug, we have a wealth of information on here, a lot of different details, things about projects and road work that we're doing, all the different services that we provide. So there's a lot of information on the website, including what we have going on this summer in the construction season. So if you go under road work and construction and go to this current projects page, this will give you a map, and there's also a list below the map if you're not a map person. This shows you a map of all the different major projects that we have planned throughout the year. And so you can click on any of these segments or on these dots. I'm going to click on the one that is the Mast Road dot and go to this more info, and that takes you right to the project web page. So again, for these bigger projects, we've created a project web page where we've got a lot of the information that Nate shared already today and that Aaron shared. We will provide, this is under this helpful links area. That's where I'll post this meeting's recording and the slides that Nate is sharing. We'll post that here. We've got Nate's contact information here, and then we do updates. And so we've got updates posted here. This is announcing today's meeting. As we get closer to the start of construction, which we expect to start on May 3rd, we will put another update here as we get closer to that. And then you can also subscribe to receive these updates via email. So you can get them either by going to the website, or if you click to this subscribe to project updates, it'll take you to our subscription page. And that's where, again, shameless plug, we do a lot of different emails, not just ones about Mast Rd Bridge. And so you can subscribe to receive emails if you want to receive, road notices for work that we're doing by township. Also, if you want to receive we do a quarterly newsletter. We have our weekly roadwork schedule that goes out every Thursday morning. I just sent the one out for next week this morning. We do alerts on weight restrictions or bridge closures, so you can sign up to receive those. And then down here is where you'd sign up to receive your project updates. So if you want to learn about or get updates as we go throughout construction on some of these major projects, you can do that. So that's through the subscribe page. So again, you can find that through this current projects part of our website, or you can subscribe to receive those updates and get those right to your email. So with that, I will turn it back over to Nate. If you want to pull the slides back up, Nate, we'll show the instructions as to how to do Q&A. We are going to go to Q&A next. And so what will happen is we'll ask that you virtually raise your hand if you want to ask your question verbally. And how you do that is if you look on your screen, if you're joining from your computer or from your smartphone, you should see a button that says reactions. Nate's going to show what that looks like on the next slide. Yep. So you should see reactions, and then there should be a raise hand feature there. You can also applaud for us if you want, or give us other feedback. But if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand. The other option is that you can ask your question in chat. And it looks like we do have a question in chat. And so if you'd rather ask your question there, I'll read those out loud, and we'll just go back and forth between verbal questions and chat. We do ask that if you do have questions, there's no time limit or anything. We just have a lot of people on the call, so we ask that you keep your just be respectful of everybody's times, but we're here to answer questions that you may have. So with that, Nate, we do have a question. This is from Mark in chat, and he said, can we expect the bridge to be worked on every 10 years or so? It would seem that there should be a process in place that would last longer, since the longevity of the bridge is nearly 100 years. So maybe talk a little bit more about what preventative maintenance we see in the future on this structure.
Yes, so we do, for this project, we got funding for the work through the MDOT LAP process. So this is monies that come from the state and federal money to perform the work. We do have a asset management plan that we are working on, and that would help with the regular, preventive maintenance that we would plan for our bridges. We also, in addition to that, we do inspect the bridges every 2 years at a maximum. And as the bridges get older and have more concerns, then that goes to every year. So we do keep an eye on it. And
well, and
Yeah.
Nate, preventative maintenance, I'm sorry, Aaron, maybe this is what you're going to say, but
Yeah.
preventative maintenance is part of any infrastructure investment. And so a bridge can last 100 years because of constant preventative maintenance or regular preventative maintenance. And so if there were no preventative maintenance, then it would not last the 100 years, right?
That's correct. Yeah, and thank you, Emily, because I was going to speak in the same way that you have to maintain your car, and oftentimes we'll use the correlation to you have to change the oil on your car, you have to put new tires and new brakes on at a point, and then those wear out. Well, that's not unlike a bridge or a road. Over time, it is going to wear, and the epoxy overlay that we're going to put on this bridge, over time that will wear off. It's not permanent. And again, that's because of the effects of Mother Nature. Mother Nature is relentless, and that never stops. It's a result of the environment that we in Michigan, we as Michiganders live in and drive in. It's a harsh environment. So there's a real possibility we may be out there in another 10 years. I don't know if it'll be Nate and I, but we very likely may be back out there again in 10 years to do some further work because it's necessary. It's not that the investment that we're making every 10 years is done in a shoddy manner. It's just that the materials that we use, they do have a finite lifespan, and we need to go back out and continue to do that regular maintenance.
Okay, thanks. And it looks like, Mark, maybe you're having issues with the raise hand feature. It depends on what version of Zoom you have. If you don't see it under reactions, you should see a button that says participants, and there should be a raise hand button under there. If you've called into the meeting from your phone, you can dial *9 and that will virtually raise your hand. Or again, you can always ask your question in chat. Is there anybody else? So that was the question we had in chat. Is there anybody else that has a question for us? Again, you can find the raise hand button either under reactions or participants, depending on which version of Zoom you're using. If you're joining us from your computer or smartphone, or if you've dialed into the meeting, you can ask us a question by raising your hand and dialing *9. Robert, we should be able to hear you. Oh, there we go. Go ahead, ask your question.
Yep. So I'm a resident, and Aaron, you mentioned 11 years ago there was some maintenance done. I recall that bridge being impacted only like 2 or 3 years ago from some work. Was that just the loose stones being applied, or what was that I'm remembering?
Yep. And Robert, thank you for the question. I was not involved with that project, but it was about, and I'd have to, again, Nate and I were not here at the time. So I'd have to, maybe Matt would recall when that work was done, but you're right, there was some epoxy work that was done on the deck, and that was probably 3, 4, 5 years ago. And that epoxy material has not bonded well. And that's why you can see as motorists, when you drive over the bridge, there's areas where it's peeled up. And that's something that again, we intend to overcome that with the application of the new epoxy that we're going to put down. But Unfortunately, I was not involved with that project, so I don't have much to offer. I'm sorry.
Matt, our Director of Engineering is on too. Matt, do you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, that was essentially an epoxy job for preventive maintenance. It was a material that we were piloting. So it actually didn't cost the road commission anything. It was a company that was piloting a material and seeking us to use it, and we tried it on this bridge. It certainly provided some extension of life and protected the deck for some period of time, but it wasn't an extensive amount. So we're going with more of the standard epoxy overlay that we did most recently in the area up on North Territorial Road Bridge over the Huron River. So that's something similar to that we're doing on all of our preventive maintenance jobs. We're doing an epoxy deck seal.
Okay, thanks, Matt. That's interesting. All right, that was a great question. Good memory. Is there anybody else that has a question out there? Again, you can either ask your question by raising your hand virtually. Oh, here's a question from Mark. Let's see. Mark, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
We can. Go ahead with your question.
Great. So my question is regards to where the barriers and where the line is going to be for the signal to stop during the Central Street project back in 2011 or 2012. It was, so I'm at, my house is 3668 Central. It's right where the yellow barrier, where the light is essentially right in front of my house. And initially that stoplight was in between me and my neighbor's house towards the river, which caused getting out of my driveway to be a major headache. So I'm curious to know where that line is going to be for the signal and where the barriers are going to stop with regards to the driveways.
Okay. Nate, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, we'll make sure when we get the barriers out there that you have access out of your driveway. This is a schematic based on, the overall idea. But when we get out there and we need to place those, we will adjust them so that you can have access for sure.
Yeah,
and that's for the signal too. Sorry, go ahead.
We've got a little bit more flexibility at the south end because what helps is the posted speed limit there in the city limits is 25 miles an hour. People coming out of town, coming northbound on Central / Mast Road. Again, we've got a little bit of a slower traffic scenario there where we'll be able to bring that signal a little bit closer to the bridge and kind of narrow up our barrier at that end. At the north end, for people coming southbound on Mast Road, coming towards that intersection there at Huron River Drive and Joy Road, we really need that signal and that barrier to be further away from the bridge for safety purposes, really keeping in mind trying to protect the motorists and the crew that's working on the bridge. That's going to be a longer run out. But again, it's a good question, Mark. And certainly, as Nate said, we can, as we mobilize on the job site and start to set that temporary traffic control up, barrier and the temporary signals, we can adjust that to make sure that you've got access in and out of your drive.
Okay, great. Let's see. Are there any other questions out there? And Nate, can you talk a little bit about the timeline one more time?
Yeah, so we're expecting the work to start on May 3rd, and we're going to be doing this two-stage work process. So it takes a little longer, and we expect it to be done by the end of July.
Okay. And again, if you are interested, you can sign up to receive those project updates, and we'll provide a notice before we put the lane restriction in there, the lane closure, and then we'll provide updates throughout the project of how we're progressing. It looks like we've got a question. Oh, let's see. Robert, we'll go there first. Robert, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yeah, thank you. Just a curiosity question for future planning. Is there any kind of plans for a roundabout for that goofy intersection where all those roads are coming together at the party store?
That is a great question. Go ahead, Aaron.
And I'll jump in, and it's we have just a conceptual plan, and really it was just for talking purposes. At this point, there's been no funding identified for any kind of an intersection investment there at, and I don't know that it's widely used, but oftentimes here at the Road Commission we'll refer to that as 5 points. We don't have a funding source identified for that. Like I say, we have a very early conceptual idea that, you know, maybe a roundabout would work there, but that's really as far as that's got. As Nate mentioned, we're fortunate that there is not a significant crash history at 5 points, and I believe that's because people are cautious driving through there. It's a known complex intersection, and so I think people they slow down and they're very mindful. And honestly, people who live and drive through that area are very familiar with the intersection. So I think that familiarity also helps keep the crash history down.
Thanks, Aaron. It was just, like I said, curious
Sure.
if there was thoughts about that. I'm not necessarily advocating it, but it was just
Sure.
a question.
Thanks,
I'll
Robert.
also jump in and add to that, that ultimately there's a lot of needs in the county. This one does certainly see congestion as well during the peak periods, but we have a lot of intersections where they're the bottleneck to our primary road network with 2-lane intersections, whether it be stop controlled or not. Ultimately, it's balancing all those needs, and ultimately we haven't identified funding yet. We certainly are always looking for funding sources for solving situations like this, and we'll continue to do that.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Aaron. Let's see. We do have a question here from Nancy. Let's see. Nancy, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
I'm from the Dexter Cider Mill, obviously. I can talk to somebody privately about this if it'd be better, but we typically lock our driveway up, our parking lot. There's legality reasons involved in that for the canoeists, water sports, etc. So I probably need to get a hold of somebody if you guys need to have access to that or the bridge or whatnot. So I guess I need to know how to go about that. And again, discuss individually if that's easier.
Sure, yeah,
Okay,
and thank you,
thanks,
Nancy. Yeah, and we definitely, Nate can reach out to you, and thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
Because, you know, to get under the bridge and along the side of it, we might need to get in through your driveway there. But definitely, as we begin the work and as we talk to the contractor, H. McKenzie, definitely Nate will be reaching out to you.
Okay, great. Okay.
But again, and Nancy, I'll say certainly we did consider the time of year for this project when we were setting it up, because we realized that the cider mill gets very busy in the late summer and early fall. So we're excited that we're starting this work as early in the season as we are.
That is greatly appreciated, especially amongst COVID and every other issue. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sure.
And I look forward to hearing from you, Nate, about the driveway.
Thanks, Nancy. If you could just put in the chat, and I'll share it with Nate, if you want to put your phone number or your email address, I can share that with Nate. We've also got his contact information too, but if you want to just provide that to me in chat, I'll forward that along to Nate after the meeting. All right, is there anybody else that has a question? These are great questions today. Nate or Aaron, is there anything else you guys would like to add? It doesn't look like we've got any more questions at this time.
I'll just say I appreciate everybody attending. Thanks for taking the time today to call in.
Indeed, thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. So again, I've got Nancy, thank you. I've got your email, we'll save that. And what we'll do is we've got the road work is planned to start on May 3rd, and we'll send an advisory out ahead of that. If you want to subscribe, we showed you how to do that on the website. I'll put the link one more time in the chat if you want to find that. And then we will provide updates to anybody that subscribed, also to the website, the webpage that I showed you. We'll provide updates throughout the project of how we are progressing. So we appreciate everybody taking their time today to join us virtually, And we hope you have a great rest of your afternoon.